Welcome back to Munchausen's Proxy, where we have previously commented on the upcoming Disney Plus series based on Rick Riordan's international best-selling novel series, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. That was a mostly useless teaser, since it showed very little of what will be in the actual show. We saw the houses at Camp Half-Blood and heard some of the prose from the opening of the first book, and that was about it. I said in the last video that the kid chosen to play Percy looks fine, and I wasn't going to comment beyond what we saw in the teaser, what there was of it. Well, Disney have dropped another teaser, this one a little more revealing, and none of us should be surprised what is shown, given the state of Hollywood in general, and Disney in particular. You can almost see the checklist that was followed as you watch the teaser. So let's go through what we are shown about the upcoming Percy Jackson and the Olympians series, shall we? It starts out with an elevator opening and we see Percy. Now, I would assume it is the elevator to Olympus, except at no point in the first book does Percy go up in the elevator by himself. Then we see the words, "The Gods," with some mildly crappy CGI art. After that, WWE's The Edge comes on screen with a longsword. If he is cast as Ares, and I think he is, that could be awesome. One of the biggest letdowns of the Logan Lerman Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief movie was the omittance of the Percy-Ares fight on the edge of the Pacific Ocean when the three kids get to Los Angeles. It is perhaps the best scene in the first book, and the director and/or writer completely missed an opportunity to immediately make the movie twice as good as it was. Admittedly, that is because the first Percy Jackson movie was rather lame. But that is a different video. The Edge has been good in other projects I have seen him in, namely the sci-fi show Haven. Leaving aside the fact that he does not look Greek, which none of the cast but one do, I think he might do well as Ares. We get another flash of letters with bad CGI art. This time it is the word R. So thus far we have "The Gods Are," and I was already tired of the cuts because I was sure the payoff was not going to be worth it. Anyway, Percy is then seen opening the doors of what looks to be the Poseidon house at camp, and then a bunch of kids with Greek helmets are running across a rope bridge. After which we get more letters. Waiting this time. So the gods are waiting for something. Then some woman's eyes are shown before we get our first look at Grover's goat legs in what looks like Percy's bedroom. The three kids are shown crossing a field and jumping over a stone wall in a landscape that looks distinctly not American, despite every single location in the first book being within the continental United States. A close-up of Goat Boy, and then race-swapped Annabeth. Mind you, Grover is race-swapped too, as he was for the Logan Lerman movies. Grover in the books is described as having curly brown hair, brown eyes, and a wispy beard. I will say more on that after the rest of the teaser. We get a quick glimpse of someone with horns. Horns bigger than Grover should have, so I'm not sure who that's supposed to be. The obligatory shot of the Minotaur ramming Percy's mom's car before the screen blanks for a second. To round out the teaser, the three kids, Percy and Annabeth side by side and Grover behind them, are trying to look tough while standing on a deserted beach. It is probably before Ares shows up to fight Percy because he's still dry. The date of December 20th, 2023 shows before the CGI art coalesces into Percy Jackson and the Olympians. My first reaction when I heard there would be a Percy Jackson series coming to Disney Plus was, all right! Then my brain reminded me that this is Disney, and I was sad that another IP was about to be bent over the table by the mouse. At first, there were glimmers of hope in how they were talking about the series. For one, they would eschew the mistake of the movies starring Logan Lerman, namely that the characters at Camp Half-Blood were all too old. Percy was a middle schooler, as was Annabeth and Grover. This series would have actors of the appropriate ages. They would also stick closer to the books for the production. And that promise is when my heart sank. Disney, and Hollywood in general, do not say this unless they plan to bastardize the hell out of whatever it is they are doing. The Rings of Power molesters swore up and down that they were going to adhere to lore. The showrunner for The Witcher said the same thing, as did various other writers, directors, and showrunners over the last few years. So as soon as those fateful words were said aloud, I was pretty sure this show would not follow the books. This was closely followed by casting announcements that included the race-swapped Annabeth, Grover, Chiron, Clarice, Luke, Medusa, Hermes, and Zeus. The author, Rick Riordan, who is also a writer and producer for the show, came out in defense of the race swapping, calling anyone who questioned it racist. Unfortunately for him in the studio, he has paintings of what all of his characters look like on his own website. He is the author. If he wanted more diversity in the story, why didn't he write it that way to begin with? Answer: money. Hollywood is paying him a lot of money to support their bastardization of his works, and he is all on board with it. To be fair, every single one of those race swaps could be the best actor for those roles. But ask yourself this: how many race-swapped characters that were this blatantly defended using the tried and failed strategy of attacking fans has worked? Yeah, I can't think of any either. And no other character held up as a human shield by the studio to defend their crappy show/movie by claiming critics are just racist/sexists who hate the minority/female character has worked either. I am thinking Reva on Obi-Wan, and Disa and Arondir on Rings of Power. No, this is merely what is known as a red flag. It doesn't necessarily mean the show will suck. After all, when I saw the race swapping of House Valerian on House of the Dragon, I was just as wary of what else the showrunners had fucked up. While it still fucked up the story, House of the Dragon stuck the landing almost everywhere else, turning out to be a good show. However, that was HBO, an outfit with a long history of churning out quality programs. This is Disney. Disney does not know how to do television, and they have proven that with both their Marvel and Lucasfilm IPs. They managed to accidentally put out a mildly good first season of The Mandalorian to kick off Disney+, but everything else has been mediocre to bad. And many of those shows had the same red flags that Percy Jackson's shot callers are waving. Does this trailer show anything other than the race swapping that indicate it will be bad? Not really, but that is because it is a half a minute long with enough cuts to make you forget what you see aside from who the cast is and the Edge as Ares. Not much else stuck in my brain, which is why I had to re-watch the teaser to do this video. And that in itself is another red flag. There is nothing in this teaser to even hint at how they are treating the story, and it is the story that matters. Well, that and the characters. For all I know, Leah Sava Jeffries and all the rest of the race-swapped actors could be great. I know for a fact one of them was. Lance Reddick was cast as Zeus before his death, and this will be his last appearance on a television show following his death this March. However great an actor he was, though, he was also one of the stars of the Netflix Resident Evil series that was so bad they canceled it almost as soon as it premiered. None of the other race-swapped actors have any kind of filmography that instills confidence in me that they are anything but something that was on a checklist someone in the HR department at Disney was keeping track of. Again, this doesn't mean that they will suck or that the show will. It is just a red flag of modern Hollywood. This teaser doesn't help that by showing next to nothing about the story. I hate to harp on something that should not matter, like race, but Hollywood makes that nearly impossible these days. And when you give critics nothing else to judge your show on in trailers that are more fluff than a field of seeding dandelions, you get what you deserve. Especially when, time after time, you prove those critics correct. That is all I have for this video. If you like what I do here, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and leave a comment or criticism down below. Make sure that bell icon is clicked so you get notified of new videos. I will have a video about the peripheral up next, since there has been news on that front. Until then, tschüss.